Thank you for joining us today for 5 ways to increase value creation utilizing RPA in an M&A process. Our presentation should last about 30 to 40 minutes with some time at the end for questions. Let's get started. This is a great example of taking unstructured data using a bot to map out standardized format. So in this case, a worksheet, while this example is generic in nature, you can imagine the power that it has at scale. The technology has the ability to digitally transform much of manual and repetitive work that people are doing today. Here, I'll play it again so you can see it. The impact on the business outcomes is great. So thanks for joining us today. I'm excited to expand on this video that you just watched and talk about how technology is changing in the M&A space. Before we get started, there are a couple of items that we're going to walk through today. So we have the M&A landscape in 2019 and beyond, problems that slow the process, and then 5 ways RPA can increase value creation. And we'll wrap up again with questions and answers. Few housekeeping notes. We are recording the session and we'll send out a copy after the event. If you have any questions throughout, be sure to ask using the panel on the right-hand side. As you saw in the first example, automation is digitally transforming many businesses, including the M&A space. So whether your organization is trying to innovate, do better work, or solve new problems, technology has the ability to enable it all. Today, we're going to specifically cover the barriers to value creation in M&A deals, how to develop a technology strategy to speed delivery, and as a result, realize tangible outcomes in a short amount of time, giving you the ability to scale for future use cases. I'm sure many of you have heard the buzz of RPA, and it's not a surprise given the market growth rates you can see on the right-hand side. What is RPA though? So RPA is just a robot doing human manual laborious tasks. So RPA can automate any redundant rules-based manual processes. And it is driving user interface, it's speeding up transactions, and it's doing more with existing teams. Many organizations are at different places along the RPA journey, but for most, change has shifted from understanding and education to how to scale and establish center of excellences. So organizations are seeing real value in utilizing RPA tools today. And what follows are proven ways to move you down your RPA journey in an M&A process. But before we get started, let's introduce my guest speaker, and we'll tell you a bit more about ourselves. So in order to drive successful RPA implementations, we utilize partners like Datta Solutions Group, DSG, to help clients through the preparation work that is necessary for development of bots, including the RPA strategy, process streamlining, and of course, change management. So these consultants are very important to us, and they provide talent, governance, and guidance on creating the appropriate organizational model to integrate and scale automation. So I will let Vic further introduce himself and his company. Vic?
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you all for attending, and thank you, Rachel, for the great introduction. Very pleased to be presenting with you and help system on this very important topic area. My name, Vic Datta, and I'm the founder of Data Solutions Group based in the greater Washington, D.C. area here in the U.S. I have about 25 years of professional services background, mostly coming from the finance and accounting areas, but a healthy dose of IT, which I've had the benefit of receiving in very outstanding firms I've worked with, Deloitte, IBM, KPMG, and FTI Consulting, that you all might be aware of. With that experience, I founded DSG a few years ago as an advisory firm that offers corporate finance solutions to mid-market companies, and we saw a need there where they were underserved. Our transformation, our M&A, and turnaround solution skills are highly requested by leaders of these companies when they have specific issues and need to grow rapidly, either through organic means or via acquisitions. And our mission is to provide these great companies with the tools, the training, the techniques in order to make better decisions under extreme uncertainty these days. We're also called upon when these firms and these companies are under stress and require expertise to turn around struggling operations. And over our professional tenures, my team and I have participated in over 100 transformative programs, delivered tens of millions of dollars in incremental value, and highly reduced cost at our clients without, disturbing their processes and their people. We have also conducted many due diligence exercises for buyers and sellers in the M&A process. What we specifically bring to an RPA engagement is something, next slide, please, Rachel. What we specifically bring to an RPA engagement is something more important, representing the precursor work which is necessary to make any technical, and an RPA may be technical, but it's also a balance between the art and the science of deploying such tools. We help identify projects that could gain by RPA in your environment. We assist you in preparing the workforce to take on RPA, and then we rationalize and help you harmonize processes so that your RPA solution can operate optimally. We don't just do this and walk away. We also manage the project through a project management office, which we help you set up, and we even help design a center of excellence for RPA if that is so desired, to ensure that your digital culture is sustained through the journey for digital transformation. Rachel?
Wonderful. Really excited to proceed to the rest of the presentation here. So we at HelpSystems, at a glance, we've been in business now for 35 years. We started the business in 1982, and we've grown globally, and we now have offices all around the world, and we have 17,000 customers worldwide with revenue of over 200 million. So we are really focused on the support staff, and they have an average of 9 years of experience, and the workplace is really offering a high quality of software.
Thanks, Rachel. Let's get into the guts of why we really need RPA. And I think at the 50,000-foot level, I think it's important to talk about the market for RPA. On the left-hand side of this slide, you'll see that there is a couple of bar charts that show the M&A activity that is trending upwards. This is the 5th consecutive year M&A deal value in just North America will top $2 trillion. This is a unprecedented and historic event, I think. The bar chart below shows that the deal multiples, that is the size of each deal, the expected ROI from each of these, tends to go up as well every year, and that has gone unabated over the last few years. Mostly firms are buying companies to extend their existing operations, get into geographic markets or into channels they didn't have, or to diversify and buy the technology that they don't have. And a lot of the transactions are happening with technical firms where companies are trying to expand their technology arms and their digital arms. So there is a lot of activity going on in that space, but most of it is very new to the acquirers, and so it's going to be interesting to see how well they integrate these acquisitions. There is a lot of money still around. It's tightening up, but there is a lot of cash sloshing around. Good deals are hard to find these days, but the returns for these acquisitions is also getting extremely stringent. So anybody who lends money is asking for more proof, more rationale to provide the cash. On the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see a number of items on a pie chart that shows why these people are worried, these acquirers are worried. Effective integration and sound due diligence was cited as being the single two biggest important factors for a successful transaction. So doing your due diligence before you get into the process and then of buying a company or selling a company is very important, as well as the fact that once you buy it, effectively integrating it will result in the returns that are being demanded by by the company's lenders. It's also true that less than 5% of all M&A transactions fail to live up to their projected synergies and values, while 95% apparently destroy value for the shareholders. So this is a problem, significant one, that we're trying to mitigate with RPA. Next. This slide is important to show you, as we peel this onion further, why these transactions internally have not worked. So a little bit more detail coming from research done by Deloitte recently, highlighted external factors of lack of good due diligence, but also the fact that there is execution integration issues, talent and cost issues that are not being addressed correctly. Those give you about the 80-20 rule there. People are buying companies, they're putting the processes, good integration on hold, and they're doing it fast, and they're trying to ensure that they get the results over time so that the people and the process issues are subordinated to the actual acquisition. On the right-hand side, you'll see a slew of rationale why integration goes wrong. Most importantly, underestimating one-time costs or counting one-time revenue as recurring is considered to be a big reason why these integrations are failing. And companies are also failing to make these estimates real. They're providing a very rosy picture, obviously, to either sell this company or provide the rationale to buy the companies as well. There's a lot of data sprawl with no ability to get a combined picture of financials, products, customers, or channels. And data formats and standards are vastly different between two companies with no real idea of how to bring them all together once the companies merge. Very cursory efforts are done by many companies to do that. Most importantly, underlying all of this is that culture and processes are being put on the low end, on the back burner, when companies merge, and then they realize that, as we will see as we go through the rest of this presentation, that these elements really do impact an effective integration. Next. We'd be remiss if we didn't show you something on the ROI for RPA. Again, a very rich slide to show you what the rationale is for RPA. On the left-hand side, you'll see we provided a number of leading research firms' comments, Gartner, McKinsey, Institute of RPA, that reduce risk of human data entry errors or the risk that data of human corruption, theft, or malpractice impacts companies that's a rationale for going forward with anything that is automated. The revenue and profit generated becomes less dependent on the ability to scale your labor because automation enhances your ability of your current resources rather than, replaces it often. And the company deploying RPA can rapidly scale up or down depending on the nature of the business issue they're facing. And finally, RPA processes activities in exactly the same manner, providing consistency without the element of human variability. So there are many reasons why you would undertake RPA, and then the further, variants of RPA as we'll go forward in time to see cognitive learning and AI become a big part of the lexicon as well. On the right-hand side, the one thing I want to just mention here is that in the past, not so much in the distant past, when you had an onshore, let's say, shared service center, you would experience, let's say, $1 worth of savings. You literally can improve that by using a bot by a tenth of that as well. So the cost of using a bot in the most transactional of processes is absolutely without fail. We've seen it unfold at many of our clients, and the inherent benefits of accuracy, timeliness, and the impartiality of having a bot in place is unmistakable. So there's a large benefit to be had by most companies, resulting in between 15 and 90% cost reduction opportunities for many firms that we've been with. Next. Rachel, do you want to take this?
Sure, absolutely. So we covered some of the integration issues in previous slides that led to value destruction. So let's go a little bit deeper and show you how RPA really helps mitigate these issues. So most integration issues are arising from making rosy projections of revenue and cost reduction, assuming that a free flow of all necessary data will come in a consumable form. And data, it's also the assumption that data will be clean and will continue to be clean. And assuming that the workflows force will be operating with the knowledge, the ability, or empowerment to execute, and then the same speed. So this type of thinking causes 60 to 70% of mergers to fail, as Vic was just saying. And sure, it mimics human process activities and also helps automate mundane tasks. But also RPA impacts the entire extract, so transfer, cleanse, load process of data management. It does some incredible data capture, ETL, and necessary activities that empower decision makers in making realistic projections, providing clean data via accurate data extraction and staging, and then providing time savings via 24/7, 360 active processing. Providing time for the workforce to focus on higher value tasks, and then providing a learning environment for advanced artificial intelligence and a release of innovation. So we are going to next walk you through the top integration issues and details on how RPA actually mitigates each of these issues towards enduring success. The issue is one of grounding estimates. So look at it this way. The issue is getting real with estimates. So one of the issues is not having enough information to project sales growth and cost reductions. Maybe overestimating one-time costs or revenue items as recurring. Then RPA, is really providing the following benefits. So it provides information from both companies, rapidly helping identify the growth rules that are mismatched, identifying redundant information, eliminating wasteful side analysis and reconciliations, and helping to determine the types of information externally and then internally that drive more effective forecasts.
That's great. Rachel, I would say that just to add from a a project standpoint, RPA is not a solution for everything. This is not something that we want to go out on a limb to say that in the practice of doing M&A integration, but it provides great assists to the team. The ability to quickly stage your historical information, enable better data analysis and mining. We've done that several times over at companies, but now with advancements in this robotic process automation and getting the more mundane of tasks, as you were just saying, has resulted in great gains. At one of our banking clients recently, they the bots now pour through tomes of data for a customer to identify suspicious patterns in transaction history, for example, and flag it, right? And it used to be done highly manually, and of course now it's being done with a lot more precision as well as a lot more attention.
Great point. Absolutely. And the issue is data mapping to new systems. So the challenges presented in data mapping is that there are multiple levels of complexities caused by business practices and culture that slow the integration down. So multiple sets of products and estimates of growth, ERP subsystems that organize data differently from the parent company. And then really the ability for RPA to vastly improve the area of data mapping is so the source of data is not an issue. Many paths to one truth, of course, so the creation of a single source truth and the faster design of master data to early identification of common classes of data.
That's great. And I think in terms of this mapping to new systems, this is kind of bread and butter. Often RPA is about moving information between two or more separate pieces of software. It's fast and it's cheap, and it's also fade away. So, in the context of doing M&A, it's really great for example, for our private equity clients who don't want to invest in a new system to pull information together. In the interim stage, while they are considering any kind of new ERP for both companies, it's a fast and easy and cheap way to pull information together. In fact, I think as we were just talking recently, it's a great way to actually construct an API within the M&A context, which will benefit any acquirer. We've seen an order come through at our clients in System A product needs to be shipped via System B, a patient needs a patient checks into a hospital, for example, through System D, and a doctor needs to see the patient in another information system. We see a lot of those kinds of integrative issues that when you're piecing together various transaction types, RPA really does help you stage the information and then help map to the new system in a very quick way.
Absolutely. And that's really something that any business can utilize RPA for. And it's such a great way to move data around and utilize RPA. So the third key issue is data sourcing and extracting. So the challenge presented in data sourcing lie mainly in consistent data and definition, so high levels of product customization, and then many different SKUs. So RPA has highly effective and efficient data mapping because business rules are enforced. So the better the business rules are in definition and the more consistently applied, the better the results. So we can integrate two different systems. RPA can also take um, data from forms or invoices and put that data into an ERP or similar type of application. This is something that we're doing all the time for, again, many different types of organizations and businesses. So the fourth key issue is data remediation and transformation. So the key or the challenges presented here are in the inconsistencies in the recording and collecting of the data. So side reconciliations, inconsistently applied external formats accepted without mapping. And then as before, RPA has highly effective and efficient in data remediation transformation, so enabling input and verification of manual processes. So traditionally applied with RPA, but enhanced for larger data sources. And then data duplication or deduplication and data extraction applied to new data sources such as IoT machine logs and other system generated raw data.
I would agree with that, and I'd say just to add to that, that RPA is being used by lots of companies to quickly identify these data fields that fail to meet a rule set. And this is important when we're doing a fast-paced merging of data from one company to another. Target company product sales, for example, does not record region. And then every transaction you can set up that is tagged with location code based on whatever zip +4, et cetera, or geocode. You could merge then with the utilizing these rules, tag every sale element and sub-sale element to that transaction for the target company, and thus creating a common look to the information coming through your systems now. This is done super fast once the rule set has been identified, because RPA's basic job is to go through many systems, identify the logic, and accomplish the tasks in record time.
Absolutely. And finally, the fifth key issue is data entry and staging. So the challenges presented here are impacted mostly by our clients' manual processes. So any unique data entry requires a workaround. Formatting data for analysis from multiple sources. And as before, RPA is really a highly effective and efficient tool for data staging and entry. So RPA can extract data from common forms, but also from uncommon forms and data sources like emails. So flexibility to move data from any source to any target database, and the ability to only process change data so you don't have to decelerate your system. And of course, track your data changes over time with slowly dimension logic.
That is great examples. I would just say at a recent defense contractor client of ours, RPA expedited the subcontractor hour and rates conversion process by an astounding 5,000 hours, allowing the organization to test and remediate and then validate 100% of the data in a test environment prior to conversion. And then that greatly reduced the amount of data remediation required after the conversion, because they were getting so many anomalies. They were able to test it prior to making it live, and saved upwards of 5,000 hours. So it's a substantial improvement in performance for any company.
Vic, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
So identification of key databases for both companies, or I should start by saying, the lessons here from deployment are really the identification of those key databases for both companies, but also subsystems that feed those databases. You know, looking at security, security is a bigger and bigger topic every day. Um, Robots will only be as secure as the security of your existing environment. So most RPA platforms offer robust security features such as data encryption, credentials vault, credential um, expiration and renewal. Master data management concerns itself with the control of an organization's most critical and core data that describes objects and assets such as customers, employees, or products. So complete and accurate master data contributes to a better decision making, less cost, less rework, and higher process efficiency and complying to regulations. RPA can do simple and complex business rule validations, which include cross validations with reference data residing in different systems. Reference data is data that defines the set of permissions that are values beyond or values to be used by other data fields. So options are copying the reference data to the source system to run a simple internal check or looking up the data in the secondary internal or external database. So using RPA, any lookup of reference data can be made feasible, underlying the use of existing high quality sources to run your business processes, meanwhile saving a lot of time. And I think I'll have Vic talk about culture, process, and people.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel, because those things are wrappers almost on this great amount of technical information and solution that comes out of RPA. Thank you for covering those details in the steps above. Those are important, especially master data management, to really identify where data goes, the information about information, and the ability to then cluster information in uncertain environments, which leads to better decision making or faster decision making. But honestly, prior to doing all this, once we get the permission to go forward at any company, culture is the first discussion item because culture trumps strategy every day. That's been said, but we've lived it and we live it with our clients. We can't ignore company politics, especially in areas where managing large teams of people is considered a status symbol. There's often a culture of double and triple checking transactions. It comes from a good place because clients want to be exacting, but there's a cost to pay there. Issues that took place a few years ago continued to either stall performance, have checkers checking checkers, and producing a lot of workload on the human resource. This can, in fact, be alleviated by technology like RPA. Once there's a secure environment created and process is identified as being a target process for improvement. We come in there and we do what we call WIFM and WAMI analysis, which is what's in it for me, what's against my interests. We make certain on these change issues, we've identified and we've accounted for any of the networks informally that are existing before any RPA is deployed. RPA, as I reiterate, is not a panacea for all process ills because good business practices are needed. Good org design is needed to begin with. Otherwise, you're just automating, bad processes and ill-defined feedback systems. On a process side, RPA automates high transaction processes, which has highly structured information. Now, RPA tools can work best when they have direct access to data and applications. It's super important to identify where the data is coming from, who owns it, and what form it is it in. Unstructured data needs to be made structured. So that's in quotes. It needs to be in a standard form so that you can include it, even though it's not performed regularly sometimes, it's still okay if you can make it rule-based. So we spend a lot of time working with our clients to take these unstructured pieces of information and identifying what elements of those we can make rules-based and thus, better able to accept RPA. And people are the most important here. It's all about the people. Preparing for human capital risks is like you'd prepare for any other risk, but in this case, a little bit more. Remember that when you embark on these kinds of engagements, what is it that you actually stand for as a company becomes super important. What is your mission around people? How do you help people find their way through these new technologies, new jobs, new capabilities, new training? And then how do you create an organization that supports this human element for success? That's as important as defining, where the processes go, because it can only soar once you've enabled people to help push it along. Expect changes to jobs, to compensation, to structure, to incentivizations, and learn new ways to develop your team. We do recommend, a center of excellence or a center of competency around this area of RPA and automated technologies within the firm, and we can talk more about it in another setting. Thank you, Rachel.
Perfect. And Vic, I could not agree more. Everything you just said. So companies are adopting RPA primarily to solve business problems, but not just to save money. Larger enterprises adopt to maintain competitive advantage. Small and mid-sized companies are attracted to manageable scope, speed, and resource investment. Compliance benefits, think GDPR, HIPAA, PCI. Look at leveraging more effective and efficient business processes, reduced legal issues, accuracy and quality. Think report generation, all that collecting, compiling, better business operations, tighter and more reliable data. Data has been something that we've been continuing to bring up this whole conversation. I think it's really important. Productivity. So bots don't take a vacation, which is great. I hear all the time somebody wants to, go golfing, or maybe they get sick. Nothing gets done with it when an employee is not in the office. So think about what can they get accomplished. On the flip side, happier employees who get to take those tedious tasks off their plate.
And it's great when they know when the bot goes down, how to fix it. So, the human factor is not all integrated or eliminated, as the case is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're really empowering those employees to be more effective and do the things that they want to do and add more value to the business. Wow. So, looks like we did receive a couple of questions throughout. Let's see here. Looks like the first one. When is the best time to introduce technology into a business that has been completing M&A transaction for several years?
Oh, several years. Rachel, do you want me to answer that, and then you can, fill in gaps?
Go ahead.
A very good question. I think this element of automation discussion starts off during the due diligence phase. Even before a company sells itself or divests off its subsidiary, or if a company is actually buying another one, in the due diligence process, you are determining, the firstly, the fragmentation of information. You're trying to get a sense of how many systems there are. You're trying to get a sense of, what the key systems are for monetization. And in that, to find places where the human factor is working a lot more to pull information together, that is when you start to both design and strategize around RPA. It's a great place to look for sub-process automation and where you find analyses being done off the side, not in the main ERPs or in the main systems of record. That's the place that you then identify for change and for RPA.
I think you nailed it. I wouldn't even add anything to that. It's perfect. So the other question that we had was, if I am interested in learning about or more about how to implement these strategies in my business, what is the best next step? I would say contact us, contact Vic, and what we can do, it depends. So, it might be a matter of trialing our software. It might be a matter of us working with you on creating a couple of examples or um, POCs. So, reach out, let us know. We'll help you get started. And I think Vic, did you want to
Yeah, I
add to
think I
that?
would add Rachel to that. I think those are great comments. I would say that anybody starting an engagement or a effort around automation, and this is it's both a heady time, it's an exciting time, as well as pretty vexing and maybe angst-ridden time as well for companies. I think that the first order of business is to really do some brainstorming around what you have on hand, the capabilities, right? So oftentimes there's some dark technologies and dark capabilities that have not been utilized because we just don't do a good job sometimes of inventorying all our skills and our people, and then taking into account the technologies we purchased that haven't been well used or have been used only in a very minor way. I think it's imperative to do that kind of analysis so you're not going out and buying new technology just on the basis of it's a fad, or we're going to just get it because somebody has said this is good. I think understanding and baselining where you are is a great way to start. There are other ways to approach this. If you have a burning platform where a project is not going as planned, not receiving the results it was supposed to, not achieving them, and then you're seeing a lot of attrition happening as a result of that, that's a great place to bring a partner in to take a look at and see where maybe you can remove some of the human angst and human factor and have the people focus, like Rachel was just saying, on the most important task, which is the thinking part. And that really alleviates, and it's kind of a pressure release for a lot of companies. And we tend to do that. We use many techniques to assist a company in doing that sort of either pressure testing or pressure release exercises with their leadership. And I think that's where I would recommend, you start looking at your technology platform.
Wonderful. I think that's perfect. And I don't see any other questions. So if anyone has additional questions, reach out. We'd be happy to respond. Thank you so much for everyone for joining. We really appreciate it. Vic, it's been an absolute pleasure presenting with you, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if we have any additional questions. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, Rachel.